So guys, we are at the second day of the Mining Investment Event, and today we have Cascadia Minerals, Andrew Carne. Andrew, you have a bit of an unusual way of getting into this sector. Much unlike a lot of the CEOs that are here, you didn't start out on the investment side. You started off by wanting to do what?
Yeah, so in university, I went into engineering and I wanted to build spaceships. You know, I was interested in the space sector and all that. So I went into materials engineering, which has a metallurgy component to it. So I did my undergrad in that materials metallurgy program. But as I was working through that school program, I needed a summer job to help pay for university. So my parents were in the exploration sector and said, well, come up and help build drill pads in the Yukon. So that's what I started doing as a summer job, and somehow just kind of got sucked into that side of things. So when I graduated, went and worked for an exploration consulting company for over a decade before kind of moving to the corporate side.
That's totally an unusual path to this sector, but I love it. I love it. And now you're with Cascadia Minerals.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Cascadia was a spin-out?
Exactly. So I worked for its predecessor company called Atac Resources. We were discovering Carlin-style gold mineralization in northern Yukon, and we found a mineral resource there, had quite a lot of excitement around that. It was a big discovery, big belt of mineralization. We sold that to Hecla Mining Company in 2023.
It's a big company.
They are a big company. And they're really all in on the Yukon right now with that acquisition and the silver mine that they're operating at Keno Hill. So they bought that from us, but we had a bunch of earlier stage copper gold projects that we were exploring. They weren't that interested in them, so we got them to spin them out into Cascadia. We launched that in July of 2023, and they've been a big supporter and a big funder of us as well.
Cascadia, that's been performing rather well.
But the last little bit here, yeah, has been quite good. I mean, since we launched the company, we've successfully found a brand new copper gold porphyry discovery that's literally never been discovered before 2020. It was a prospector found it looking at government silt sampling data. As far as we can tell, nobody had set foot on that part of Yukon before.
That's the interesting thing about Yukon. So Quebec's a much more mature jurisdiction. Everyone talks about Quebec. Yes, Quebec is a great place, but we forget that Canada is vast. And the Yukon, from what I'm seeing or hearing, it's, I don't want to say the undiscovered country, but it does sound like the new frontier.
It really is, and that's the remarkable thing about it, right? Because everyone talks about, the gold rush and things about the Yukon gold rush and this huge amount of work that's been done there. But if you actually look at it, it's quite small in comparison to most other jurisdictions. And a lot of that was focused on placer gold. So gold you can find in streams and gravel. There's been comparatively far less work on actual hard rock deposits in the ground. And I think that's only starting to really build up right now in Yukon. Part of it has been, people typically think of it as lacking infrastructure, it's remote, it's northern, but there is a surprising amount of infrastructure present there. Our project, for example, is 10 kilometers away from a paved highway with a power line next to it. So you can't really get much closer to infrastructure than that anywhere. And it's in the same belt of rocks that in BC hosts the Red Chris mine, the Chemes deposit, all of these major copper gold porphyries in BC. It's in the Stikine terrain is the name of that rock package. That extends right up into Yukon, but nobody's looked in it. It's remarkable, and it runs right up along the highway.
And this is something that gets mentioned a lot, but new investors, everyone, if you're a new investor and you're interested in the resource sector, you hear about gold, you hear about silver.
Yeah.
So the first thing you do is you look up and you find a company and you invest. But one of the most important factors, and you touched on, is location.
Yes.
Can you just work a little bit more around that? Just explain, why is location so important? Why is it so important to be close to that highway?
Well, ultimately, what you find in the ground, you're going to have to mine, and then you're going to have to move it somewhere to sell it. So if you're looking at a bulk commodity like copper or a base metal, you're going to produce a concentrate that you're going to have to truck to a port to sell to a smelter. So being close to infrastructure is important in that regard, just because you don't want to have huge shipping costs to get it there. But even for things like gold, where your end product is higher grade, can be transported by air, you've still got to get in fuel, you've still got to get in the trucks to actually do the mining, you've got to get the people in. And if you're in a remote destination, then suddenly you're building camps, you're building airstrips and all of that. So the closer you are to a road network, the better, because you don't have to put all that capital outlay to get the project going.
So pretty much that must mean that your all-in cost, maybe you could explain what all-in is when you're drilling, but your cost must be relatively cheap.
On a Yukon comparative basis, it's not bad. We are still heli supported right now because we don't have that road to the site yet. But our crews stay in the town of Carne. They stay in the hotel there. It's great. We haven't had to build a camp. We don't have to deal with our own catering and things. We just use the local restaurant in town. The hotel's owned by the First Nation, so they like having the business there as well.
Of course.
And then we just stage out of a government gravel pit about 20 minutes down the road. So for a heli-supported program, it's actually quite good. We're sitting around $700 per meter all in. That includes the heli time, the assay costs, all of our crew and management experience as well.
But you're somewhere where, as you showed us a little bit earlier, the results are quite staggering. Can you tell us a little bit about those results? Because that's something that you don't see often.
Exactly.
So we see a lot of, you know, I'll let you give the punch.
Sure.
But we see lower grades normally at that.
Yeah, so I'll start with what we drilled in 2023. So we're exploring for copper porphyries. We're expecting good, decent copper and gold grades. We drilled a new target there in 2023 that returned 116 meters of 0.3 copper, 0.3 gold. Good for porphyry grades. Good start there. And we're continuing to work on that target. We think it's got a lot of potential. We've just kind of tapped into it. But what's really exciting is at the end of last season, we had some guys just following up on a rock sample. And this guy samples what looks like just, your average rusty outcrop, sends it into the lab, and the number comes back at 1,065 grams per ton gold. And we were astounded. I mean, he hadn't documented any visual gold in it or anything. So seeing this number, we were blown away. We didn't have a lot of time left in the field season, so we sent some guys back out again for another day to sample around it, and they came back with another 180 grams gold, 140 grams gold, 75 grams gold. And that's not the same tiny little vein. That's sampling kind of around that target area. So, we're excited to see that. I mean, it's the first time we've ever had, there was enough gold in it that you could actually get it back from the lab after the sample was completed. So, that's genuine gold that came out of that rock sample that we pulled out of that outcrop.
And this is something that I can't stress enough. You see all these projects, and the grades of gold are low for the amount that you're drilling or what you've explored, but these are big numbers.
Yeah, they are.
These are big numbers. Obviously, they're something you weren't expecting, but they're very much welcome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're never upset when you see something like that.
That's it. And now you have possibly like our big drill program coming up?
Not huge yet, because we're still a little bit limited by financing, but we're in there right now. We're drilling it. We're gonna do about 900 meters at this target, just testing a variety of different holes underneath it. So it's a great time to start following the company because the drill is literally turning. We started on Sunday. We got the first couple holes into it and just kind of steaming full speed ahead.
And one last thing. So as we were talking before, this sector, the commodities sector in Canada is severely undervalued.
Oh yeah.
You see a lot of great projects, and those projects by themselves are worth way more than what the company's market cap is. And it's the same in your case. So why is it something investors should really take notice? Because they're looking, well, when's this market gonna take off? When's this market gonna take off? But essentially, you're a discount right now. Oh
yeah, huge discount. I mean, we're not even valued where we should be for the porphyry discovery alone, let alone looking at this new epithermal gold play. I mean, it's so under the valuation of where we should be. It's just astounding. And I think it's just getting the attention there. But we're having success with that. We put out our exploration commencement news release a couple weeks ago. We've got a lot of eyeballs on the story. A lot of people have been buying in the market. We're seeing some really good support. So, I think we're on that uptrend. And the big thing is now that we've got that attention, when we make the discovery with the drill, it's really going to move. Because if you don't have people following the story, it doesn't matter what news you put out, it doesn't go anywhere.
That's it.
But we've got that following now, we've got that attention. So yeah, I think we're really well positioned.
So from wanting to build rockets to possibly having a stock, well, at least if you look at the chart recently, to sort of rocketed up.
Yeah, exactly. It got there in the end.
So where can investors find your stock trading? What's the ticker?
Yeah, so we are CAM on the TSX Venture Exchange. We're also cross-listed on the OTCQB in the States under CAMNF.
Definitely something to look at.
Yeah.
Again, massively undervalued just based off the assets. And as you mentioned, you've got two great assets.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for watching. Give us a like, hit the subscribe button and comment down below. And don't forget to watch our last video. Bye!